Ocean Strategy by W. Chan Kim and Renee Maubourgne. I heard about this book in a course after reading about it, looking at Audible recommendations. I wasn't too attracted to it just based on the title, because what's so compelling about a blue ocean? It's like writing a book and calling it green grass strategy or fluffy cloud strategy. But it turns out when you differentiate it from something that's the complete opposite, and you're like, here,
95% of people do not succeed because 95% of people use the other strategy.
it makes you wonder not only what those little differentiating factors are, because I mean, why wouldn't you want to succeed? But also, how does this blue ocean approach apply to smaller and larger scale markets? I mean, if you learn enough about these things, what I love about non-fiction books is that a lot of this information, to some degree, you can really kind of apply to anything. But the contrast explained between the blue ocean and the red ocean strategies described in the course really captivated me. Like how the red ocean competes in existing markets while the blue ocean creates an uncontested market space. The red ocean beats its competition while the blue ocean makes competition completely irrelevant. The red ocean exploits existing demand while the blue ocean creates and captures new demand. The red ocean makes the value cost trade-off while the blue ocean breaks the value cost trade-off. And the red ocean aligns the whole system of a firm's activities with its strategic choice of differentiation or low cost, while the blue ocean aligns the whole system of a firm's activities in pursuit of differentiation and low cost. You following me here? I feel like these terms like this is where I hear them and I'm kind of just like, I feel very small. It makes me feel like I don't know anything about business. I never went to college for any of this stuff. But before deciding, I'm definitely gonna stick to book reviews. The part where I really get to the summary of the book, by the way, should be somewhere around my breast area at this very moment, because I'm gonna start talking a little bit, I'm gonna go a little bit more personal on this one area. Because self-development, or self-education you could call it, is probably like my second biggest passion. I realize as a fully self-produced rapper and singer, I make all the beats you hear in these videos, because music is my greatest passion, second to none. Music industry is being swallowed by this giant sinkhole that's not going anywhere soon. In fact, it's probably only gonna get bigger as time passes. So with the aspirations of mine to make self-growth normal, as it says on all my social media, it makes no sense to pursue music as a career because music is less profitable, and anyone who has done anything close to making self-growth normal has probably needed so much money to do it. And I also love money because it makes me feel secure, you know what I mean? There's too much scarcity and fear and hatred revolving around the actual money side of the industry. And yes, there's plenty of the opposite, for sure, but that has way too much to do with just the music and not at all enough to do with the money. Maybe this is my opinion. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do what Jay-Z does, because he's the richest rapper. But I'm gonna do it my way. I'm gonna use my music, or for now, remixes of popular songs to help draw attention to my brand. But I'll go into an industry like he did with, you know, sports and clothing and streaming and restaurants and even beauty, and also do my own thing with that by executing ideas that people will actually put lots of their money into. I have an entire 21-minute long mega rant on my channel about why the music industry is going in the direction in which it's going. And I'll link that in the description. It's probably the craziest video I've literally ever made. But I'm done wasting my time and money on it. And professionally speaking, I'm now 1,000 times more invested in self-education. And these book reviews, when I do them, I'm being completely honest when I say this, like, I really genuinely do not feel like I'm wasting my time at all. I feel like I'm doing like really important work that like is for the better benefit of like mankind when I do these book reviews. I regret not doing book reviews like 2 years ago. Anyone who's passionate about more than one thing who's watching this, and anyone who's between the ages 18 and 22, especially, I personally recommend looking into how profitable that thing actually is and its future regardless as well. Grant Cardone says it best, don't do what you love. Do whatever it takes. I'm willing to do increasingly whatever it takes. It didn't start out like this, but that's why I got this book. The summary. This book was written by both a professor and a student who have been close friends and business partners for years since the student's graduation. The framework of this book doesn't just provide the analytical aspects, the creation of the strategy, but also the older, more important human aspects of how to bring its people on this journey to execute these ideas in action. It is stressed that the blue ocean opportunities have been seized, and because of this, the blue ocean universe has expanded. Yet a lot of people don't really seem to know that much about them, like how to create and capture these blue oceans. Such a welcoming ending of the opening. He says, "We invite you to read this book, to learn how you can be a driver of this expansion to the future." He starts by talking about Circus Olay, which came from a declining industry. However, what the global dominators of the industry took over 100 years to do, Circus Olay did in less than 30. Because they are blue ocean gangsters, and that is just how they operate. TV and computers were kind of shutting the live entertainment section of the circus performing industry down. And the animal rights people, let's put it this way, they weren't happy. They made the competition irrelevant. The Circus Olay, not the animal rights people. However, by creating an uncontested market space to win against the competition in the future, Circus Olay has basically stated to us we have to stop trying to win against the competition. I've looked very closely at the most powerful companies in the world. One of them owns the platform that you're watching this on. One of them creates the technology that I use to make these videos. One of them I am affiliated with, and if you buy this book or any products I recommend through their site, I actually get commission, which helps me build this channel and keep making these videos for you guys. The fourth one at this point in my life, I suppose I can do without until further notice. These companies do things that nobody else does because they take one thing that so many people fail at and they perfect it. That, ladies and gentlemen, is innovation at its finest and a key component to companies like Circus Olay. Now, red oceans are explained next, being the industries and everything that already exists. Basically, companies that are focusing on each other. If you want a phenomenal example, like an amazing example of a red ocean industry other than music, I very highly recommend checking out Salt, Sugar, Fat by Michael Moss, How the Food Giants Hooked Us, and it explains some of the dirtiest, most foul reasons for the diabetes and obesity epidemics, and I think other ones of the last couple decades at least. All red oceans, interestingly enough, started out as blue oceans. In an exclusive platinum interview with Tony Robbins, Peter Mallouk, one of the greatest financial traders on the planet, said that the jobs being occupied by kids that are being born today, 90% of them, I think it was 90, don't even exist yet. So these people who wrote the book were like, okay, what can you use to measure how effective blue oceans are expanded? They did a ton of analysis, so much analysis. They concluded that it wasn't the company and it wasn't the industry. So the companies that lasted the longest, well, what were they doing? That's explained in the book. This book is like a more technical version of Purple Cow by Seth Godin, where Godin talks about how to make your business really stand out and kind of pop in today's market. But this book is more technical because it's a lot more specific, multifaceted, and explains why people value what blue ocean companies do. The creation of blue oceans involves a driving up of value by differentiation and lowering the cost anybody would need to pay normally to experience that value of differentiation. If you're hearing these words and you're like, Sam, what the fuck does, I don't know what any of this shit means. Well, I think the biggest word that I just said was differentiation, and that's the one that really kind of confused me. If you don't know what differentiation means, when I first heard it, I was like,
Is this some sort of business term that you only learn in schools?
Apparently it means separating yourself from the competition. So basically you have all these things that drastically make you more valuable and unique than everybody else. Almost to the point where people look at you and it looks like you're not even in the same industry because you're so different. Then here's the real kicker. You're like, yeah, but it's actually pretty cheap. Because people expect it to be really high priced, but they find out that this completely unique thing is very cheap, and they're like, what? But like Chris Anderson says, the future is selling less of more. But this is what makes blue oceans so sustainable. You know, it's weird. People always complain about how rich Amazon is in reality, but I have never, literally ever heard anyone ever complain about Amazon's customer service, speed of delivery, variety of selection, or especially the price of the products on their stores. It always baffles me that actual, full companies don't notice things like this. But so few books I've listened to about the future of business actually approach that like this one. If Circus Olay was a combination of theater, circus performance, and ballet, that is innovation. Any red ocean would just try to pick one of those things and just really go in on it. He talks about the company Yellowtail and how it was able to leapfrog other ones in the wine industry, becoming the fastest growing brand in Australia and the US. People don't want to drink wine that takes them years to learn how to appreciate the taste of. They don't want to have to read the boring technical jargon or look at intimidating displays of the wine in its packaging. They don't want to have to choose between all these different wines. So Yellowtail was like, here are 2 wines. Just two of them. It seems like all the inconveniences the red ocean strategy has caused for customers are alleviated by blue ocean strategy solutions. What are the strategic groups of your industry? Why do people go for the higher ones versus the lower ones? In answer to these questions, and probably if you put all of them together, it'd probably be at least 40 other ones, this book was written. He talks about Southern Airlines and how it handles car transportation to the airport on top of the flights. A lot of these implementations of business strategy remind me of a Peter Drucker quote. Business is 2 things: marketing and innovation. Marketing is getting people to want to do business with you, and innovation is basically finding a better way to meet their needs. And that seems to be, in one package, what the blue ocean strategy is. It also expands upon the meanings of these things. NovoPen was the first user-friendly insulin delivery solution designed to remove the hassle and embarrassment of administering insulin in 1985. People could do it conveniently without the complexity of syringes and needles. And that is just one of the smallest, but seriously, it really compounds needs that customers have been waiting for a company to finally meet. If you really look at the things that people complain about, I swear you will notice increasing opportunities to just start solving problems for them. And it's not about your customers with the NovoPen, it's also about their customers. Because NovoPen was going to CVS and Walgreens and all this other stuff. But things like this are why Peter Diamandis says that in 15 to 30 years, roughly, doctors won't really exist anywhere beyond within our phones. Another example of having more than one practice within the customer experience is movie theaters. Vacuum the products and services into one. The ease of getting a babysitter and parking your car affect the perceived value of going to the movies. These complimentary services are way beyond the bounds of what most movie theaters even think of doing. Movie theater operators don't even consider things like this. But if you want to talk about business expansion, I guess this is it. All of these things affect demand for your business. Well, at least if it's a movie theater. If you ask companies to present you their proposed strategies in a few slides, it's not surprising that few clear or compelling strategies are articulated. It's no wonder that few blue oceans are strategically put into action. Executives are paralyzed by the metal. Few employees deep down in the company even know what the strategy is. And a closer look reveals that most plans don't contain the strategy at all, but rather a smorgasbord of tactics that individually make sense but collectively don't add up to a unified, clear direction that sets the company apart, let alone makes the competition irrelevant. This book alone is very compelling. In April, Tony Robbins said during the beginning of the notorious KBB course he released with Dean Graziosi that most of the information in college business courses is kind of outdated. Anyway, and I'm biased against our education system in the US. I think that for the most part, if you are not going to be a lawyer or doctor or one of few other occupations that highly determine the financial or medical fates of the general public, I think it's broken and not really fixable at this point. There are no solutions, but there certainly is an infinite blue ocean of alternatives, one of which is on your screen right now, that fall under one category. Self-education. If you want to call this outdated information, it's not nearly outdated as it is ahead of its time. While you read or listen to this book, I can promise that you will get plenty of ideas and you'll get lots of information on what to do differently to get way better results. So many examples of the proof of this strategy are laid out so thoroughly that by the end of the book, you will be convinced that the blue ocean is real and eagerly waiting for you to explore it. By the way, all of the, this is not just the US, it talks about China and companies in China and Japan. It talks about militaries and police forces. He talks about the great early acceleration of the blue oceans that were once, and I suppose still are, personal computing and movie theaters. It's no surprise to me at this point in history that I can't go a business book without hearing somebody talk about Apple. He talks about the creation and expansion of the blue ocean that Ford produced with its Model T. Lots of these companies have objectives, strategies, and purposes in common. If you don't know what these objectives, strategies, and purposes are, I like to think this book is a spectacular place to start, especially if you'd like to incorporate its information into your own life. I also like to think that everybody is a micro company. So if anybody doesn't want to start a company themselves, or maybe they do in the future, I would go on to say that this book is a spectacular macro resource on how to expand further into their own true self. I feel like that covers a good half of direction one, but before we get to the rest of it, I want to cover the whole of this book's quotes. We've got a strategy so compelling that you won't be our customers, you will be our fans. The soul never thinks without an image. Unless the technology makes customers' lives drastically simpler, more convenient, more productive, less risky, or more fun and fashionable, it will not attract the masses no matter how many awards it wins. Leverage your angels and silence your devils. People don't know what they want, give them something better. Direction 1. I recommend this book for anyone who wants some specific advice on short and long-term business strategy to kind of secure themselves for growth and expansion outward into the future. But I don't recommend this book to anyone who considers themselves a beginner at this type of stuff, because they use a lot of terms that I don't even think I understood that much in some parts of it. Some advice on this is if you're still willing and disciplined enough to go through with it, I recommend getting the book, but looking up the meaning, anything you read or hear that you don't understand. If that doesn't describe you, or you're like, Sam, I don't have time to do that. Most things people ask me to do, I definitely don't have the time to do myself. So I totally feel you. But if you've watched this video up to this moment, either you're lying or I really think you'd love Purple Cow by Seth Godin. He has a really quirky, spacey way of looking at today's effective approaches of business and marketing. And I think it's a phenomenal place to start. Direction 2. If you like this book, I really recommend checking out My Life and Work by Henry Ford. I listened to 30 books in the first half of 2019, and that was probably without question one of my top 5. If I get the chance to listen to that again, I'm definitely gonna review it because it's fucking amazing. The way he looks at everything from management to economic inequality to philanthropy to skepticism and even karma. His business philosophy was very informed, balanced, and ahead of its time. That's probably why his company was mentioned more than once in this book. I also recommend Salt, Sugar, Fat by Michael Moss. A jaw-dropping, fucking honestly enraging book on what I like to think has become the most red ocean industry of the late 20th and early 21st centuries. Just for some, or I guess a ton of insight on what the opposite of a blue ocean strategy looks like. Blue Ocean Strategy by W. Chan Kim and Renee Maubourgne. There's a link to it in the description if you guys want to check it out and read the reviews. That and all the other books I mentioned in this video, if you're interested in those too. If there are any other books that you guys want me to check out and review, please let me know in the comments. If you checked out this book, did you like it? I want to spark some dialogue down in the comments and get to know my audience. But hey, make sure to leave a like if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already. If you could turn on that little bell to receive a notification every time I drop a new video, that would mean the world to me. Thank you guys so much for watching. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.